Thanks everyone for joining us today. I am Rachel Summer. I am the Director of Operations and Partnerships for the Sweatland Center of Environmental Health. And today we're going to share a little bit more about the Advisory Council opportunity of the Nourishing Power Network. And I'm joined today by Angelina Bell, one of our Advisory Council members, and you'll get to hear more from her soon. But with that, we'll go ahead and get things started. So, 1 second. Okay. Today, in the next half hour, we just want to go over a little bit about what the Nourishing Power Network is. We will also talk about the Advisory Council role, helping you to learn more information to decide if this is the right opportunity for you, the details of how you can apply, and you'll get to hear from Angelina about what it's like to be an Advisory Council member. And then we'll stay on after that for a little bit to answer any questions you might have or clarify anything that wasn't clear. So we're happy to stay till 7 or however long we need to answer questions. So just a little recap of the Nourishing Power Network, if you're not familiar with the Nourishing Power Network. So it is a research study, but the mission is to test ways to transform food systems by bridging community power with organizational power to spark and expand food justice initiatives led by the community here in Greater Cleveland. So really the vision is to root and grow a local food system that promotes freedom, hope, and dignity in food traditions, resulting in holistic health for Black, Latino, Latina, Latinx, Asian, and Indigenous communities. And when we talk about the local food system, really what we're saying is all the steps that are involved in getting the food that you want in order to thrive. So that can be anything from growing to distributing, selling, sharing, preparing, and eating food. And these are our research questions. So at the end of the day, what do we want to learn from the Nourishing Power Network? The questions we have are, if we cultivate welcoming spaces for community building, will it spark and expand food justice in Greater Cleveland? And if we support community-led action with financial and technical resources, will it tip the food system to fairness? If we root and grow community ownership of local food systems, will it promote equity, vibrancy, and holistic health? So the full name of the study is the Nourishing Neighborhoods Empowering Community Study, but it's a lot to say, so we say Nourishing Power Study or Nourishing Power Network frequently. And if you're not familiar with the 4 components of the network, I'm going to share a little bit about them here in counterclockwise order. So as part of this community action research, we have the Nourishing Power Advisory Council, which is why all of you are here today. And really, those are community leaders who guide and lead the Nourishing Power Network and also share lessons learned to sustain efforts. The Nutrition Equity Fund, which you may have also heard about, we just wrapped up the applications and the reviews for those, is grant funding for collaborative and creative food justice projects led by the community. And just so you know, even though we just finished a round of funding, there will be a second round of funding in 2024. And the Advisory Council for 2024 will have an opportunity to participate in the design and decision-making around those funds. The Nourishing Power Fellowship, I know Carol is very familiar with, as Carol was one of our fellows, but those are for change makers who are new to the food system space and that bring fresh ideas to transform outcomes. And lastly is our networking. So we have in-person networking opportunities that we've been doing quarterly, and we most recently added some virtual lunch and learn experiences kind of by request of our fellows and others on specific topics around the food system that will be happening in December and January. We just had one in August, but it's a way to connect with local food justice leaders to share stories and talent and grow capacity and relationships. And then I just wanted to point out who the co-investigators of the study are. So obviously I'm representing the Marianne Sweatland Center for Environmental Health today here at CASE, but we also work very closely, and this study is co-led by Neighborhood Connections and the FAIR Project, Food Access Raises Everyone. We think that those relationships are really important. So this slide has pictures and names of all of our current Nourishing Power Advisory Council members. They served a they're serving a 15-month term on our advisory council, and some of them are moving on to different opportunities or engaging in different parts of the network, and some will remain. So 4 members will stay on, and we are recruiting 6 new advisory council members for this term that will start in January. And I bet you know many of the people on this page. And then here's our fellows. Carol is the first picture. And so they, participated in the 6-month fellowship this past year, and many of them are still involved and engaged in our network in one way or another. And so it's exciting to see what's evolving in their journeys, and that we love to stay connected and support their work. And then lastly, this is a list of our current funders. So as you can see, it's pretty diverse, institutions and groups and individuals that are supporting this work across Ohio and the nation. And we continue to build these kinds of relationships as well, so we can keep doing this study and keep doing this work together. But now I want to get into the advisory council role more specifically. So you may have seen this flyer on our website or maybe sent out in an email, but we're going to go through more of what each of these components are and what they mean. This back page of the flyer, this looks a little bit blurry, sorry about that, talks about the commitments of the advisory council. And again, I will explain those in more detail as we go through. So just talking first about the goal of the advisory council. So we see the advisory council members as having 3 roles or responsibilities. One is to kind of lead and guide the network to ensure that we increase community ownership of local food justice initiatives, and that we can share lessons learned to sustain efforts and to sustain the network, really. The advisory council is very involved in the decision-making aspects of the network, and that engage in planning, implementation, and adaptations of our approach. And Angelina, I'm sure, can speak to that. Angelina has been very involved in a lot of different aspects. Also served as a mentor, I forgot to mention, to our fellows. Has helped plan networking events, like very much can speak to many aspects of the network. And then advisory council members help to create and sustain space for community-driven efforts that lead to vibrant, engaged, and fair food systems, resulting in holistic health for people and communities. So who is this for? As I mentioned, it's a 15-month cohort. There will be 10 total, the 4 returning and the 6 new advisory council members, representing the cultural diversity that we see here in Cuyahoga County, but really looking for folks who have experience in community building, that have leadership experiences in the food system and related sectors, because we know all of this is connected and matters to one another. So it could be housing, education, social services, etc. People who really are passionate about transforming the food system through collaboration. Those who may have experience either in grant writing, grant making, or policy planning, advocacy, and implementation. And that folks who want to expand and sustain the Nourishing Power Network. So if you've been to our different events or you've engaged in the network one way or another, hopefully you also believe in the mission and want to see it sustain and thrive. And then also, your own personal interest in advancements in the food system or in the work that you do. A big part of what we try to do is leverage any resources or connections we have to support the people in the network however we can, whether it's through CASE or our partners. We want to share that. And then, so what are the benefits? And you can see here, these are some photos from our different advisory council meetings throughout this past year, and some of the work we were doing. But the advisory council members, there is an honorarium that's part of the service to the advisory council members, and that is a $2,500 honorarium. The advisory council members this year will participate in either one of 2 working groups. So one working group is the policy action for nutrition equity group, and that's really going to have more of like a policy focus to those efforts. And then the Nutrition Equity Fund working group, which I mentioned earlier. So those individuals in that working group will participate in, overseeing the fund and how the money is spent on the fund, deciding where it goes, and reviewing applicants for the fund. And I do have more information describing those two working groups, which I will put in the chat. When I stop sharing screen, I will share that with everyone to look at more thoroughly. But we also believe that, people who participate in the advisory council will gain some skills in at least two of the areas. So whether it's, action planning to support collective efforts for nutrition equity in Cuyahoga County, or really building out your networking and relationship building, and also to secure resources to sustain the Nourishing Power Network, communication skills, whether that be written or oral, social media, etc., to tell the story of the network and what you do, and then having the experience of selecting, awarding, and providing technical assistance to nutrition equity grantees. I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but hopefully I can turn it over to Angelina soon and stop talking. So these are some of the activities. I know you're probably wondering, like, what do advisory council members do on a day-to-day basis? So this is an estimate, but we estimate about 6 hours per month will be dedicated to guiding the strategic actions of the Nourishing Power Network through the following activities. So we will have an orientation session on January 12th, and we try to set the dates in advance so everybody's very clear on the schedule and everything, and can see if it works with their time frame. We will also, I didn't put this on here, but this December, we're going to have an optional breakfast for new members to come and meet the current cohort and just break bread together and have some time to get to know one another. So that will be December 15th, I believe, at 9 a.m. And then there's bi-monthly advisory council meetings. So I know bi-monthly is a word that always confuses me, because I think, is that 2 times a month or is that every other month? But it's every other month. And so half of those will be in person, half will be virtual over Zoom. And that is for the full group of 10 to come together. That's where they talk about the progress of the working groups, how they want to move forward, collective goals, engage in some decision making if there's new things that need to be reviewed and decided on. And you'll see there that there's little stars next to certain months, and those are the months that we will be in person. So we always usually provide a meal and have that kind of, again, like breaking bread and having conversation together during those times. And then kind of in between those meetings, there's the working group meetings again, the policy action for nutrition equity working group. And the focus of that working group has been evolved through the time of the current advisory council and the work that they collectively want to do together. So the goal of that working group is to establish 2 nutrition equity zones in Cuyahoga County by March 2025 as demonstration sites through policy action. And again, I'll share a full description of these working groups for you to review. And then the Nutrition Equity Fund Working Group. So really demonstrating the impact of the existing funds and how those have, worked towards our goal and mission of nutrition equity and food justice in Greater Cleveland. But then also to secure ongoing resources and infrastructure to sustain the fund beyond March 2025. So during those 15 months, those groups, they don't meet every single month, but I just put monthly because sometimes it's maybe twice in 1 month and then not the other month, and just it's about a monthly commitment. There's also sometimes we have hands-on meetings, or we've talked about planning a retreat for fellows and advisory council members to come together. We've done some field trips and things like that to our library on campus and letting people know about the resources that are available to them through ThinkBox and things like that. We have the networking events. Those are optional, but I think most people enjoy going to those. And then there is an interview at the beginning, middle, and end of the experience to evaluate the Nourishing Power Network study. So the evaluation is something that is required by our funders. We do evaluation with our fellows and our advisory council members, and I can connect you with our evaluation team if you're interested in learning more about the components of that evaluation. But we're really looking at the dynamics of the network and the strengths of relationships in the networks and how those evolve over time being part of the network. And you would definitely get more information from the evaluation team if you decided to move forward with this, and they would go over everything that's part of that and answer any questions that you have, and just to make sure that you feel completely informed about the evaluation component. And so lastly, these are just some of our deadlines that we have coming up. So obviously the nomination and application is now open. We're at the info session today, and the deadline is September 17th. So this year is a little bit different. Last year, we just had people apply only, but this year we're also encouraging people to nominate others. So you might decide that this is not for you, but you might think of somebody that you think would be really good in this role. We have a very simple form online where you can just submit like the name and email of the person you're nominating, and then they receive an email that's saying you've been nominated for this, but they still have to obviously decide if they want to apply for it. So it's just kind of a way to spread the word and encourage people. So you can visit the website, which I'll also put in the chat, or you can, we don't actually have the QR code on here, even though it says that here, but I will put the website in the chat for you. And while Angelina's talking, I'll also probably get some of those documents and share those in the chat as well. But I did want to turn it over to the more interesting part of this conversation, which is really talking with Angelina and learning from Angelina's experience. So I think most people here know Angelina, but again, advisory council member extraordinaire, founder and owner of Humble Mornings Coffee Company, and just really grateful to have you with us today. Thanks for your willingness to join us. So is it okay if I go ahead and just ask you some questions about your experience?
Yeah, go ahead, shoot.
Okay. So my first question is, what did you expect to get out of the advisory council when you joined versus what do you feel like you've gotten out of it, up till this point, the last 12 months or so?
When Brooke first asked me to apply, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect, so I came with an open mind. So I was willing to receive whatever, positive, good information that I could, but I received way more than that after their experience going to networking events and meeting different people from different organizations, getting to know the fellows, and working on different committees within the Nourishing Power. I got a lot of resources, a lot of connections. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. My fans just fell. A lot of resources, a lot of connections, and a lot of new, just met a lot of new people that has been what's the word I want to use? This has been, helpful in this last year with my journey with my business, and with giving me resources to help others that I know who is inspiring to have food businesses too.
Nice. And kind of on that point of like connections, can you share more about, like, are there any specific relationships you built or connections you made that have been valuable to you, or how has that, evolved over, how did that happen? Was it through meeting somebody at a networking event? Was it being introduced? And like, how did that relationship evolve to, where is it at now?
I have met several people. I have met Carol, Ishmael, I have met John, John, and everyone has been very valuable. They all bring different talents to the table, so we're able to support each other in different ways. So it's been like a colorful mixture of people I have met, and that I'm grateful that I have met.
Can you tell us a little bit about like the work that you and Carol have done together versus like the work you and Ismail are doing together? Because I think it's like two different relationships, both really strong, but kind of different experiences.
Yeah, like I was Carol's mentor, and she had a food and justice idea. She wants to educate educate people who receive federal funding from daycares, school after school programs, senior living in schools to help them eat healthy food. Just give them the resources and tools how to eat, understand what the food is, how to cook it, what it does to you, how it makes you feel. So we have done some business strategy stuff like SMART goals, developing a business plan, going out, doing coffee chats, meeting different people in the community, seeing what the community actually needs, doing surveys, and just focusing on like back end stuff of her business because she wants to do a for-profit and a nonprofit. So those are two different aspects because she wants to still help support the community and still have the income coming in at the same time.
Thank you. And then what, I know it's kind of a newer collaboration, but can you speak at all to the collaboration with Loiter and Ismail or whatever you feel like you want to share? Or
I would talk about, I was going to say, I say Rev Love Farm, Elements of Emotion, working with Shirley Bell.
yeah,
I'm co-chair for fundraising for her on her nonprofit. And it's, I met her strictly through Nourishing Power, and we
no relation.
no relation, no pun. And just we developed a genuine friendship, and she asked me to be on her board and just working with her and what she does in the community, more social emotional connection to help kids get through, traumatic events. She do it through gardening, urban gardening. She does it through art. She does it through STL, SML. I can't think the initials right now, but daggone it, I forgot to train my thought. I'm so sorry, but hers just is a totally different experience from working with Carol than working with Shirley. They're just their root cause are the same. It's just to improve the quality of living in the city of Cleveland. There's just actions are different.
Thank you. Okay, my last question, or if there's anything else you want to add to after that you think people should know, but how do you feel like the advisory council has the opportunity to impact food justice and nutrition equity, like locally and beyond?
You say that one more time. How has
okay.
the
Advisory Council been able to or has the opportunity to impact food justice and nutrition equity locally and beyond? And I know we talked about this a little bit before, and you were mentioning some things about giving voice to the severity of the food crisis in the neighborhood and the understanding of the power dynamics in the system, and just a little reminder of
yeah. I feel like that at the moment we are in strategic planning mode where we could come up with where we can have an action. Everyone that's on the advisory board is a central asset because they all have their own perspective on things, right? How to approach things and how to get things done. So I feel like we are planting seeds in a lot of different areas, and only thing now we are waiting for is just to nourish them so they can grow and they can mature.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to add about this experience, or you think people coming in should know, or things you wish you knew?
I feel like if you're going to join, you should come with an open mind and an open heart, because you never know what someone offers, even if you feel like they may not be like the person you need to meet, but you never know. And especially at the networking events, right? I feel like people should actually get out and mingle and talk to someone you don't know. Just walk up to a stranger and introduce yourself and ask what resources that they have, and you offer what resources you have. So I feel like the networking part, I feel like a lot of the fellows struggled with that in some of the advisory board, because everyone is not as social as I am. So I feel like if you're going to join, be social, be bubbly, meet new people, because you never know, just talk.
Be bubbly.